Okay. Here's the Sikha. We're going to finish the Sikha on Purim. Good morning, everyone. This is a Sikha, a very Yesodi Sikha that we began 2 weeks ago. We got basically to the middle of it. We are on, let's see, I'll tell you where we're at. We're on Hay. We got up to Hay. We got up to Hay. But we'll give a little summary for those that weren't here, or even for those that were here. It's always good to do review because, there's an expression, Misha Kaitzer. Misha lomed velo chozer, kamo Misha zorea velo kotzer. Any translation? Any Hebrew buckies over here? He who learns and does not review his studies is like someone who plants and does not reap the crop.
101 times.
Okay, so we'll do it 2 times, maybe 3 times, but we don't. That was the minhag back then. 101 times. Wow, 101. You mean 100? 101 was more. 101 was effort.
So there is a story about 101.
Right, but 100 was the regular habit.
Yeah.
Didn't require effort. They were regular. Hello, Chanoch. All right. So we said basically the Rebbe asked a bunch of questions. We're on? We're live? The Rebbe asked a bunch of questions. He brought first the saying of the Baal Shem Tov that someone who reads the Purim, the Gemara says, someone who reads the Purim Megillah out of order isn't Yotzei. He doesn't fulfill his obligation. It said the word the Gemara uses is lemafreya, which means like retroactively. The Baal Shem Tov says that someone who thinks that the nace of Purim was only back then and doesn't apply to us today is not Yotzei. He's not understanding the inyan of a yontif, the yontif of Purim, correctly. And this is not true. This is not true just for the yontif of Purim. This is true for all of the Yom Tovim. That on the day that there initially occurred the nace, the great miracle, that Hashem redeemed the Jewish people from slavery in Egypt, gave us the Torah, caused us to dwell in the clouds of glory in the desert, that's Sukkot. So on every yontif that these days arrive again, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, whatever it is, Hanukkah, there's the same light that shone back then shines now. And it gives a Jew a special koyach if he connects to that light to have hitorut, to have a hitorut. Who's my translator? Who's my meturgaman?
Awakening.
An awakening. Thank you, Yaakov Meir. An awakening in his service of Hashem. And how does one connect to that light? Oh, just you make an extra effort. You daven with a little more kavana. You give it a little more tzedakah. You add in your hiddur mitzvah. You take upon yourself another mitzvah. You learn more Torah. You help another Jew. That's how you connect. That's how you connect. Those are the ways, the methods Hashem gave us in this world. That's what He wants us to do, and then that reveals the connection that we have with Him. So on Purim, the light, and that's today. There's also a special light that's shining. Who knows today? What special day today is? Zion Adar.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday,
Moshe.
That's right, Moshe Rabbeinu.
Date of birth, the date of death.
That's right. That's right. It also is connected to Purim because Haman, Harasha, Yimach Shemo, he rolled the dice, the poor, and it came out Adar. He said, "Oh, that's a good day because their leader died." He didn't realize our leader was also born.
Okay, that's a question. So regarding Moshe and Hashem, Hashem wants to consider the golden calf a communal thing. Moshe wants to define it as an individual sin.
I never knew that.
Well, think about it. Hashem wanted to condemn all the Jews,
Right.
and he wants to make a
He
deal.
didn't really want to. He said that he was going to, but he gave Moshe he by saying, "Leave me alone." Moshe wasn't bothering him. He created an opening for Moshe to pray. He wanted Moshe's prayer. Hashem said, "I'll get rid of them and I'll make you the leader of a new nation." And Moshe said,
But by saying you would get rid of them, he's making it a communal punishment. Wipe them out. Why would he do that? And what does it say about God not changing to accept Moshe's position?
What does it say about God not changing?
Hashem says, this is what I want to do. Moshe says no. And God says, okay.
These are very interesting questions. They have nothing to do with the shiur.
It has to do with Moshe's birthday.
So, what was the first question?
The question is, there was a disagreement between Hashem and Moshe. Hashem says it's a communal sin what they did. I want to destroy all of them.
Hashem didn't want to actually destroy the Jewish people. But
Let's
just answer your main question, right? How is it you're saying, you're asking, if I understand your question properly, it says, Ani Hashem lo shinisi. I am Hashem, I do not change. And here we see that Hashem initially, the attribute of severity was in Revelation, and the attribute of severity and justice said punishment.
To all.
Punishment. No, Hashem said, "Ani eslach."
And selective.
Yeah, but in the end, Hashem said, "Ani eslach l'mi ani eslacha." Salachti kidvarecha. The attribute of punishment, yeah, when the attribute of punishment is active, like it says, also by Pesach, right, that the Jews had to put the blood on the what do you call the doorpost? The doorpost.
Lintel. Blood libel? Lintel?
I'm afraid to say, I might say lentil. The lintel with an I.
I believe it's a lintel.
But lentil's the top part of the door.
Yeah. Well,
It's where the mezuzahs are.
Yeah.
On the doorpost.
it's the frame.
Right. So the sages asked what the blood on the doorpost was a magic trick, and then the power of destruction that Hashem released into the world to destroy all the firstborn now won't harm the firstborn of the Jews. So the sages answered, no, this was a mitzvah. We have to make kalim, we have to make vessels, like you learned over and over again. But what do we see from this? That when there's a destructive power force that's unleashed, it's a powerful force. So the attribute of gvura, the attribute of severity, was revealed at that time when the Jews sinned at the sin of the golden calf. And Moshe Rabbeinu, the shepherd of Israel, who like a shepherd who protects his flock, he said to Hashem, when Hashem said, I'll destroy them and I'll make a nation from you, he said, that doesn't even make sense. If they have a stool with 3 legs can't stand, how can a stool with 1 leg stand? In other words, he was saying that the Jewish people are based on the Avos, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And if that can't stand, how can a stool based on 1 leg, me, Moshe, stand? It doesn't even make sense. Forgive them, to your nation. And Moshe gave a great argument to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that if you don't forgive them, so that the nations of Canaan will say it's because you didn't have the power to bring them into Eretz Yisrael. And Hashem forgave. Hashem wanted to forgive. Hashem wants to forgive. But he wants there to be tshuva. And in order sometimes to be tshuva, you have to first make a big sound. You have to first make a threat. And then the person wakes up. Sometimes a smart person doesn't need a threat, right? A smart person doesn't even need to get sick. A smart person does tshuva every day. They realize that they're lacking and they do tshuva. There's people that are less in that area, they sometimes need a wake-up call. They get sick and then they do tshuva because they don't feel well. They want to feel well. They have a reason to cry out to Hashem. And then sometimes even worse situations happen when people cry out to Hashem. Hashem wants us to cry out to Him. Yeah. So Hashem doesn't change, but Hashem created a system, okay? A system of creation wherein there is not just Hashem's light as He is, which expresses Hashem as He is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kvodo v'atzmai, because such a revelation wouldn't allow the existence of worlds, because as we've explained many times, worlds require diversity. There must be diversity for there to be worlds, because if there's only one, there's no room for worlds. So Hashem wants worlds, and Hashem is Hakol Yachol. He can do anything, and He can contract His light, and the contraction is only from the point of view of the recipients of such light, and us being the recipients of being in this world, right? So there, we understand that sometimes Hashem appears with Midas HaRachamim, and we're always davening for Hashem to appear, to reveal and deal with us with Midas HaRachamim, and Midas HaChesed and Midas HaRachamim. But sometimes Hashem deals with Midas HaGvura, and when there's a Midas HaGvura, we have to increase in our tefillahs, we have to increase in our davening. That's kind of what the Sikha is about, because right now we're in a war, right? There's a Gvura. If Hashem allows there to be the enemies of Bnei Yisrael to attack Bnei Yisrael, and Jews are being killed, chas v'shalom, and Jews are in a dangerous situation, Hashem should help and make an end to our enemies quickly. So we have to do tshuva. We have to realize that Hashem wants us to reach out to Him. He's our weapon. He's the true salvation. The IDF is wonderful, but the IDF is a vessel. The IDF is a vessel for Hashem's bracha. And we see that Hashem gives bracha to the IDF.
But regarding to the calf, my understanding is about 3,500 people were involved. The Erev Rav. So it doesn't even sound like it's justice to penalize an entire group of people for what a small group has done. Hashem seems to change His mind, which we say is never. And Moshe seems to be the one who's talking about justice.
We already saw by Avram Avinu, when Avram Avinu davened for the people of stone that were completely wicked. Hashem wanted to wipe them all out. Hashem said, if there's 50, I'll save all the cities because of the 50 righteous. If there's 40, Avram Avinu continued pressing until he got to 10. There weren't 10.
But
He
that's
gave
like
up.
Hamas. There are no good people in Hamas.
So we're talking about another historical situation where Hashem wanted to destroy everyone. There, everyone was wicked. There weren't even 10 righteous people.
So that's justice.
One sec. We see that when Shaul, the first king of Israel, went to fight Amalek, right? So Shmuel Hanavi said, Hashem wants you to destroy all of Amalek, and Shaul left alive the best sheep and also the king, who Shmuel Hanavi consequently chopped to bits and killed. And Shaul didn't fulfill the command 100%. And Shmuel and Hashem said to Shmuel Hanavi that Ani mitnachem. I feel bad that I appointed Shaul as a king because he's not a fit king, because he didn't fulfill my command. And Shmuel Hanavi davened the entire night to save Shaul's kingdom, but he wasn't successful. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Shmuel Hanavi that someone else would become king, who is David HaMelech.
But what he said is different.
One sec. And then, when Shmuel Hanavi told Shaul, so Shaul at first denied that he didn't follow the command. Then he admitted it, right? And he said, give me another chance. He did tshuva. And Shmuel Hanavi said, no, Hashem is not a person that changes his mind. So in the same Haftorah, we read that Haftorah. In the same Haftorah, the beginning, it says Hashem changed his mind. He was disappointed that he appointed Shaul to be king. And in the same Haftorah, Shmuel Hanavi says, what, is Hashem a person that changes his mind? No, he's not a person that changes his mind. So when it comes to something that's an essential decision that Hashem makes, something like, I choose Bnei Yisrael, I choose David HaMelech, that his dynasty will be Mashiach. Those are things that are not subject to change. They're not subject to change. But on the other hand, when something is dependent upon a person's righteousness, a person's merits, or his, what's the opposite of merits?
Demerits.
Demerits?
Demerit.
Demerits, okay. Right? And the bracha or the opposite, chas v'shalom, will depend on how he behaves. So there's an order. It's not an essential decision. So over here, when Hashem said, I'm going to destroy all of them, it wasn't.
A small group has done.
Yeah, he was just, Hashem was only saying it in order to trigger Moshe Rabbeinu's tefillah. It wasn't in actuality what was going to happen.
We said when God sends a word, the moment he says the words, it happens.
But
מחשבה, מחשבתו, והפועל זה באותו זמן.
okay, but this wasn't a machashava. This was a
מחשבה, אני נעשה טוב, מחשבה.
Yeah, but this was a dibor that Hashem said to Moshe that was talui in the tshuva that was dependent upon the tshuva of Bnei Yisrael and the tefillah of Moshe. But it never could have happened. So then you could ask another question. You say, if it never could have happened, how could Hashem even said it? And that's a good question. I don't have an answer for it. But as Rashi explains over there, that Hashem gave Moshe Rabbeinu an opening.
He created man after the Mabul, or before the Mabul.
What did you say? Hashem had charata that he created man?
Yes.
No. Oh, yeah, all right. Hashem, he didn't have charata that he created man. He just, man, at the time of the flood, here go another example. At the time of the flood,
He said it.
right. Who had charata? The Midas of justice was saying man doesn't deserve, based on his behavior, man doesn't deserve to have a continuation on this earth. But there's a plan for creation. So Hashem saved Noach. There, the attribute of severity overwhelmed the attribute of kindness, and there was justice, and there was a flood. But Noach was saved. Noach and his family were saved, and there was a continuation of man. Hopefully, man would learn from that situation and improve his behavior. We're always trying to learn and always trying to grow. Okay, so, well, let's continue with the Sikha. So the Rebbe said, he brought the saying of the Baal Shem Tov, that someone who thinks that the Nace of Purim was only back then and not today, he's not Yoitz in the reading of the Megillah. That's the Baal Shem Tov's deeper explanation on the sage's explanation, that they say someone who reads the Megillah out of order, lemafreya, like retroactively, isn't Yoitz. And the Rebbe says that it's true also by the Yom Tovim, by all the Yom Tovim, including Purim. And then the Rebbe asks a few questions. First of all, why is the holiday of Purim called in a Persian language? It should be called Gorolot, dice. Especially since when in the Megillah itself, when it says Haman, he peeled a tapur, he rolled the dice, or however you want to say it. How would you translate? He peeled a tapur. I don't know if he actually had dice.
But it was like a lottery.
He used his Avodah Zarah attributes, activities to try to figure out what was the best time to make a decree against the Jews. And the Megillah right there says Hu HaGoral. Pur is called the Goral. So the Rebbe says to call it Goralos. And then the Rebbe asks another question. The Rebbe says, how come Hashem's name isn't mentioned in the entire Megillah? Oh, it's one of the 24 books of Tanakh, one of the 24 holy books. All the holy books have Hashem's name mentioned many times. But in the Megillah, Hashem's name isn't mentioned even once. And here there's a holy book. Even when Jews write a letter, they put at the top, Baruch Hashem, or Bisata Deshmaya. You ask a Jew how he's feeling. Baruch Hashem. Ha! It's a pella. It's a wonder. It needs to be answered. And then the Rebbe began to explain that the Megillah contains two contradictory aspects. The holiday of Purim contains within it two contradictory aspects. Opposites. One aspect is hiddenness. Esther, which is, Esther means astir. I will hide myself. Like the pasuk says, Anoichi Haster astir et panai. It's a double hiddenness. Haster astir et panai. And on the other hand, the Megillah is called either Megillah. There's the Masechet Megillah. There's a whole tractate of Talmud called Megillah. It's not called Megillah's Esther. It's called Megillah. Right? The holiday of Purim is referred to as Megillah. Megillah means Gilui. Megillah comes from the word Gilui, which means to reveal. And Esther means the hiddenness. So Megillah's Esther is to reveal that which is hidden. That's in the name of the holiday. You have the aspect of revealing that which is hidden. And then the Rebbe says that you would think that the first action, since the Jews had in the palace, they had very, very important nitzigim, very important representatives. They had Mordechai, who was one of the top ministers of the government. Not only was one of the top ministers of the government, he actually saved Achashverosh's life from a plot to kill him. He could have tried to intercede against the decree that Haman made. And you had the queen, a Jewish woman, Esther. She could have interceded to try to avert the decree. But that wasn't the first thing that Mordechai did. That was the second thing that Mordechai did. Eventually, Mordechai did use his protexiot, and Esther to use her protexiot to avert the decree. But the first thing that Mordechai did is he put on sak ve'efer, he put on ashes and a sackcloth. That's what they did back then. And he did tshuva, and he went around the city crying out to all the Jews to do tshuva, and all the Jews did tshuva. And then he said to Esther, go and plead the case of the Jews before the king. And Esther said, but I haven't been called to the king for 30 days. And someone who goes to the king without being called is subject to death, immediate. Kill him on the spot, unless the king extends the golden staff, the golden rod. And Mordechai said, don't worry about yourself. If you think about yourself, you and your house will be lost. If you don't do it, you and your house will be lost. But don't worry, the Revach v'Hatzalah yavo liyudim b'makom acher. Salvation and redemption will come to the Jewish people from another source. But this is why you were put. This is why you were put as the queen. Perhaps, he says, Mordechai, perhaps this is why you were put as this for this event. So Esther said, okay, if I have to do it, I have to do it. But first, fast for me. I'm going to fast, and I want you to fast, and not just a one-day fast, a 3-day fast. 3 days in a row. I don't know. I couldn't do it.
So what was the sin of the Jews?
So the Midrash says, so Yaakov Meir said it's not mentioned anywhere what the sin was, right? Yaakov Meir, did you bring that up last 2 weeks ago?
It is. Two
Mentioned
things.
2 things.
One, big day, Kepuma, the Hashverosh had on his own.
He was wearing the garments of the high priest when he had the party.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Jews participated in that party.
And then it was not Badatz. It was Rabbanut. It was not Badatz.
Ah. So anyway, the Midrash says that it was because they participated in the feast of Achashverosh, and therefore to to counteract that Avera, Esther said, the chet was feasting, so I'm going to fast. 3 days. And you fast too. And only after I fast, I'll go to the king. The kasher avaditi, and if I lose out, I lose out. I'm going to do it. So you see, Mordechai first did tshuva. He didn't use his protection. And he told Esther to use her protection. After he did tshuva and the Jews did tshuva, and Esther said, first, I want more tshuva. I want there to be tshuva for the feast. I want to uproot the sin by fasting. And all the Jews in Shushan Abira fasted 3 days, and Esther and her maidens also fasted 3 days. And the Rebbe says, it's a pella, it's a wonder, because she has to now go to the king and try to show grace, not to show grace, that the king should find in her grace.
Compassion.
She wants the king to be compassionate on her, and when a person fasts for 3 days, they don't look too good after the end of the fast. They probably look dried out and withered, more like a prune, right, than a lovely woman. So if you want to try to achieve grace in the eyes of the king who hasn't called you for 30 days, it's not the way to do it. But that's the way they did it. And the Rebbe says, this is a tremendous lesson, and here's basically where we are in Hay. The Rebbe says this is a tremendous lesson in how we need to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We need to look at the root cause of the problem and deal with the root cause of the problem and not the symptom. Just like in medicine, right? When a person has a problem, right? Let's say they have a rash on their skin, and they're putting on cream, and they're putting on cream, and they're treating the symptom, but it keeps coming back, until they figure out, oh, okay, I'm allergic to milk. They get rid of milk, and that's it. The problem goes away, because they're not treating the symptom, they're treating the cause. And the Rebbe says the same too when it comes to Avodas Hashem, when it comes to getting bracha in the world. Hashem created a system. The system is, Yivarechecha Hashem b'chol asher taseh. Hashem will bless you in everything you do. You have to do things. You can't just sit around with your arms folded and wait for bracha to come down. You have to do things. It's a world of action, so you have to do. But the doing, right? The doing is only a vessel. Hashem set it up in a way, so to speak, that he needs you to make a vessel in order to give the bracha. He doesn't need. He's beyond any limitations. But he set it up because he wants you to be a shutaf in Maaseh Bereshit. He wants you to be a participant in the creation of the world, and in the world fulfilling that purpose, to be a partner. So in order to bring the bracha, you have to make vessels. And whatever vessel you make is going to be good enough. Like we said last time about the story with Elisha, with the woman that had to pay the debt. And he said, what do you have in the house? She said, oil. Bring vessels, bring vessels, bring vessels. And as long as she brought vessels, he was able to pour oil from the one flask. It was a miracle, right? The flask continued to pour oil as long as there were vessels. So it's not a problem. Hashem wants to give the bracha. We just have to create the vessels. But we have to understand that the vessel is the garment. The vessel is the garment that creates a vessel for a receptacle for the blessing. The blessing comes because of our good deeds and our connection to Hashem and our desire to want that connection and our avodas Hashem. So and the Rebbe says, never make the mistake of switching the ikar and the tuffle, the essential aspect of things, and the tuffle, the external aspect of things, right? Know what the ikar is. The ikar is make your connection with Hashem healthy. And then you have to make garments, but don't make the garment into the main thing. The main thing is your connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu. So now we're on Hay. Hay is page 202. We already said Hay. So now we're on 203. Vav.
This is the minor, yes.
Okay, we did Vav. We said Vav. We're on Zion. Lifol be'ikr v'lo b'tafel. I just said that, but now the Rebbe's going to elaborate on what I just said. Ha'hoira'aha nilmedet mikach muvenet b'pashtus. The lesson that each Jew should take from this idea, these ideas that we just spoke about, is understood simply. And this is nogea. This is so nogea to today. This is so applicable today. What the Rebbe is writing right now, what happened on Purim, is so applicable today. Be'es tzara rachmana litzlan, in a time of trouble. May Hashem protect us. Yesh hasoivrim shahapilut aikarit tzricha litbatat bechipus emtzayim b'darchei hateva. There are those who think that the main thrust of our activities needs to be to find ways to try to get rid of the trouble through ways of nature. Therefore, Misaperet Lanu HaMegillah, the Megillah comes and teaches us Shezeh Shlav Sheni, that is important, but that's the second level. Not level. That's the second part. Hapula Harishona, the first part, the first thing we have to do, Tzrich Liyot Chizuk Haiskashrus LaKodesh Baruch Hu Ayidei Limud Teirosoi V'Kiyu Mitzvoisa. The first thing we have to do in a time of trouble, to get rid of the trouble, is to strengthen our connection with HaKadosh Baruch Hu through learning Torah and fulfilling mitzvahs. V'rak az, and only then, after we strengthen our connection, yesh l'chapes lahatzala levush TV. Then we need, after we finish that first avodah, we need to look for a levush, a natural way, a vessel, in order to bring that redemption and salvation into the world. Ve'im yinhagu kach, and if a Jew acts this way, then the miraculous salvation, which is higher than teva, te'achez b'chol levush TV kol shu sheyaseh. That aspect of bracha, of hatzalah, that's beyond nature, will grasp on to whatever natural vessel you make, whatever it is. And just like this is true for the Jewish people as a whole, it's also true for each and every individual Jew. Each and individual tzarich ladat, he needs to know shu kashur laKodesh Baruch Hu, that he's connected to Kodesh Baruch Hu, and therefore, since he's connected to Kodesh Baruch Hu, just like Kodesh Baruch Hu is not confined to the laws of nature, so too he is not confined to the laws of nature. True, he has to act in a manner of that Hashem will bless you in everything you do. In order that doing will create a vessel, a natural vessel for the bracha of Hashem Elokecha. But since that action is only a vessel, it's only a garment, it's understood in straightforward manner, that the main effort shouldn't be in the vessel, but it should be in receiving the bracha from HaKadosh Baruch Hu through learning Torah and keeping mitzvahs. Any questions?
Wishful thinking.
This is Torah Emes, Yaakov Meir. This is Torah Emes.
Somebody studied this during the Second World War.
Yaakov Meir, there's been a lot of troubles for Bnei Yisrael over the years and over the decades and centuries and millennia. Are we still here? How are we still here, Yaakov?
Shmuel says we don't have a law You make a het, you get punished. You make a mitzvah, you get a reward. An eye for Morgan. You know what? An eye
No.
for Morgan?
No.
An egg for tomorrow.
A neck?
An egg
An egg for tomorrow?
tomorrow, which means it doesn't apply that automatically you get the reward or automatically you get the punishment. It can be next Gilgul.
Can be what?
In the next Gilgul.
You're going to get the reward down here, but it may not be revealed. But how then do you answer? What is it that is the secret to our existence? According to all
There
the
is a
reasons.
difference between Mazal Israel Prati and Mazal Israel Klali.
Okay, we're not going to get into that. But the existence of the Jewish people is a miraculous
This is
existence.
Klali.
Okay, it's Klali, Seder. But it applies also to each and every Jew, and each and every Jew has to make himself, has to strengthen his connection to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and then when he makes a vessel, so
Yeah.
we're always davening. We should see the bracha b'ofen gilui.
It's not automatic. You do the mitzvah, you get the bracha.
It's automatic.
Yeah,
But the bracha that you get, you might not see it in a revealed. No, you get it right now, but you might not see it in a revealed manner.
Okay.
This is explained in Tanya. That's the Alter Rebbe says, "Ashrei ha'ish asher tiyasrenu ko." Happy is he who is not punished. Tiyasrenu goes through Yisurim, goes through troubles from the Shem Yudke. The Shem Hashem is Yudke Vavke. It's four letters. So the Alter Rebbe says that the Shem Vavke is a lower level than the Shem Yudke. The Shem Yudke, when a Jew gets punishments, they're actually brachas, but they don't come down into this world. When they're filtered through the worlds, they don't appear in revealed manner as brachas. They appear as difficulties, as troubles. But in fact, the Alter Rebbe says they're brachas. So you might say wishful thinking. You might say wishful thinking, but this is Torah's emes.
It's like if you are getting Yerusha from whoever, he's writing the Yerusha, and after 120 years, you get the Yerusha. You don't get the Yerusha in the same moment he makes the Yerusha.
Again, though, the bracha is coming right now. If a Jew does a mitzvah, he's getting bracha forever. He does a mitzvah in general.
Right now it might be written, but before,
Even before, but it could be it's hidden. That's what the Alter Rebbe says. It comes down. It comes from a hidden level. But we have to pray, and the Rebbe always said, whenever the Rebbe gave brachas, he said that the bracha should be lamata me'asar tefachim. It should be below 10 tefachim in a revealed manner. It should be seen, and it should be revealed as a bracha to our eyes. To our eyes, that's what we want.
you said it should.
It should. That's what we do. Okay, so that's what we daven for.
You
Hashem,
didn't say it is.
Hashem want not all the time, right?
Oh, okay.
Right.
Oh, I-
Hashem, just like Hashem wanted Moshe Rabbeinu to daven for the Jewish people after the sin of the golden calf, just like Hashem withheld children from the Imahos, from our foremothers. There were four of them. In order that they would pray, he wanted their tefillas, and also from the forefathers, even there were three of them. Yeah.
Bad math.
He wanted to hear the tefillas of the tzaddikim. He wants our tefillas. He wants us to come close to him.
So our existence is irrational because we believe in a set of irrational commandments.
I don't know. No. Our existence is me'alat teva. You could call it, irrational. Irrational is, I wouldn't use the right word. It's above ration. It's above rationality.
Of rationality.
That doesn't necessarily mean it's irrational. Irrational has a connotation, means it has no basis. Our existence is since Hashem's existence, right, is a true existence. It's the truth of all existence. It's not dependent upon anything. So too our existence as a nation, since he chose us, is also not dependent on anything. We're always,
Dependent on Hashem.
It's dependent on Hashem, just like He always exists, we always exist.
We can't depend on humanity. Look what went on during.
Right.
Look what's going on now.
Right. And many goyim have King Frederick the Great asked his accountant, the Jewish man, I forgot his name, prove to me the truth of Hashem. And he said the Jewish people, the existence of the Jewish people. And the king thought about it and he said, okay, it was a proof. Mark Twain, who was not a Jew, wrote a beautiful article. What is the secret to the Jew's existence? He's persecuted, he's trampled upon, he's abused. Yet he remains in his vigor, and he remains in his wisdom, and he remains with simcha, and he remains positive. What is the secret? He doesn't have an answer. Mark Twain doesn't have an answer to the question, but the question itself amazed him so much that he actually wrote about it, and you can look it up, read the whole thing. It's a beautiful article written by a non-Jew. If a Jew would write it, some people would get annoyed. But a non-Jew, what can you say? He saw the truth. What's the answer? What's the answer? The answer is that if you want to figure out how something exists for so long, so scientifically, if you want to look at an organism and see what's the secret of its existence, you have to look at the qualities that it always has, right? It could be its environment, but then if you change the environment, the organism doesn't exist. It could be its language, it could be its customs, its culture, right? It could be its power, its money. But all those things, the Jewish people have gone through so many different periods of time. Our environment has changed. We were in Eretz Yisrael, then we were dispersed around the world. Our customs, they're very different. An Ashkenazi eats gefilte fish. He doesn't know what sahug is, right?
I do.
You do, okay, because now, we're getting to know each other.
I know the difference. Red school and green school.
Okay, be careful with both. Yeah, right. Our customs are very different, right? Sometimes the Jews had money. Sometimes the Jews were destitute. We had a language. We didn't have a language. We spoke our Aramaic. We spoke Yiddish. We spoke Ladino, right? How many Jews even today? I don't know. Half the Jews don't know Hebrew, right?
My brother-in-law speaks Ladino.
Your brother, really?
Brother-in-law.
We had an army when we were in Eretz Yisrael. Then we didn't have an army. We don't have any of the.
We're hated regardless.
Yes, it doesn't depend.
That doesn't change.
That doesn't change. But there's one thing that stayed with us forever since we became a nation.
That's what's kept us alive.
What is that?
They hate us.
Torah and mitzvahs. Torah and mitzvahs. No, not that they hate us. Not that they hate us. The fact that they hate us awakens us to tshuva. But it's Torah and mitzvahs. It's Torah and mitzvahs. It's the only thing that stayed with the organism of the Jewish people throughout our entire history. So this is a proof, okay, that it's Torah and mitzvahs that is the source of our nitzchi, our permanent existence, our infinite existence, nitzchi, that we're always existing, we always will exist. We're part of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And even a non-observant Jew who hears this argument, he may not like it. But what else can he say is the source of our existence today? Why is the Jewish people still around? That's the answer to Mark Twain's question. All right, let's try to finish the Sikha today. I don't think we're going to get to the Maamar. Okay. So what do we say? Okay, we're in the middle of page 204, in the second column in the middle paragraph. But if you put the main thing to the side, and you give your precedence to the garment. הרי זה דומה לאדם המנסה לו יוציא כסף מהבנק, כאשר אין בידו המחאה מתאימה לקבלת הכסף, או שלהמחאה אין כיסוי בנקאי, אין כיסוי בבנק. So if a person puts his emphasis on the garment and not on the main thing, which is connection to Kadosh Baruch Hu, so the Rebbe says it's like a person who goes to the bank with a check, without a check, or with a check that there's not enough cash in the bank to cash. He has to first and foremost make sure he has a check, and he has to make sure that there's enough cash in the bank, and it shouldn't be a check that's filled with with broken vessels that can't hold water. But the check in the mashal is filled with the balance of what it says in note 45. What is that? Chananya? Chagai. I don't know what it is.
You said page 206. We're on
204.
I don't see it.
You'll find it.
196 is the last page.
Take a look. No, this is the Maamar. We're in the Sicha.
Oh. You were in Hebrew.
Hashem says, the Torah says that Hashem says, to me, I own all the silver, and mine is the silver and mine is the gold. And when he has a check that's filled with Torah and mitzvahs, the silver and gold, he turns to a Kodesh Baruch Hu, who's the bank in the mashal, to cash the check. Be'emsa TV, he cashes the check. How do you cash the check? By doing something according to Teva. Ches. Yeah, we're going to finish the Sikha. Nitan lachshoy, it's possible to think, it's possible to think that all that we said above, up till now, only applies when it's a situation where Hashem is revealed in the world, like in the times of the Beis Hamikdash. But during the times of exile, because of the Mashiach, especially in the times of the heels of Mashiach, or the Alter Rebbe said we're already in the times of the heels of the Mashiach. When the darkness is doubly darkened, since HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the one that caused this darkness, one could think incorrectly that this is actually a true hiddenness. That the hashpah was given over to the chukei hateva. That is a choshech kaful u'mechupa. That's a double and quadruple darkness. A darkness is when it's dark. I realize it's dark, and I say, "Wow, I can't see. I wish there was some light." A double darkness is I think I don't realize it's dark. I'm in darkness, but I don't even realize that I'm in darkness. I think I'm in light. That's Golus. Golus is there's a darkness. Hashem is not revealed. It appears to us that things work according to laws of nature, and we're so in darkness that we get all bent out of shape and trying to work with these laws of nature, and we get all worried about things, and we deal with the garments and not realize that that's only an illusion. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is still giving the bracha in the times of darkness. But we have to make sure that the check that we want to use to cash, that there's money to cover it. And that money comes from our relationship with Him. We want the good things. We want the bracha, not just in money, but in family, in health, in all the good tzachin. The ikar is our relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that applies also in the golos. It's not that the darkness actually actually is in control. It just gives the appearance of having power. That's its appearance. But what? That's a concealment. That is a concealment. But it's not a true concealment. It's not that Hashem Kilu doesn't have the ability to give a bracha to a Jew who's in a difficult situation, even though it would seem, according to the Chukei HaTeva, that it's impossible. Hashem has the power. I mean, there was a very interesting shiur that I went to that was sponsored by the Beit Chabad of Rechavia about a week and a half ago. You were there on Mazolos, on astrology and Torah. And this guy was a scientist, a Frumyid, a Chabadnik from Belgium, but also someone with a good understanding of the way the orbit of the constellations and the planets all go. And he had all the formulas of mathematics. And he looked up, and it's like very, very rare that there's certain dates in the month. There's a certain date in every month where a certain mazel is predominant. It's that date. And it's very rare. It's like maybe once in 1,000 years that a planet will actually be right in the orbit of that particular degree of angle in the space on that date. And he looked up, he took the Rebbe's Yortzeit and the previous Rebbe's Yortzeit, is that what he did? And he looked up those two dates, right? And he looked what happened during those two dates. No, I'm sorry, not what happened during those two. Yeah, on those two dates, where were the planets? Wait, what was it? It was the 6-day war. Yeah, it was. He saw based on the Yortzeit of the Frierdiker Rebbe and the Yortzeit of the Rebbe. No, maybe I'm confusing something. The 6-day war, the planets lined up in two planets. If there's one in 1,000 or one in 4,000, what was it? Do you remember what he said? No. It was a big thousands that two planets should come into this exact alignment at the same time, the same day, is in millions. And that was the day of the 6-day war. The 6-day war broke out. And the 6-day war was a miracle that they don't even teach. Rabbi Y.Y. Jacob said he once spoke to a guy who was a graduate of course in West Point that they teach about military strategy. They don't even teach the 6-day war.
Not miracles.
He said, we don't have any explanation for that war. We don't teach it. There's nothing we can say about it. It never could have actually occurred. So we see that Hashem is the power. Even in Golus, it's Hashem's power that creates, that gives life, and that gives bracha, and we just have to strengthen our connection to him.
So we have to find revelation and concealment.
That's Megillas Esther, revealing the concealment, right? Hatshuva al kachi, right? The answer to this apparent problem where it's so dark that it appears that we have to work according to the Derech HaTeva, according to the laws of nature, because we're in a situation of Golus. The answer is that even in the time of Purim, the Jewish people were in Golus. Like it says, Mifuzar Mifurad Bein Amim. The Jewish people were spread out amongst all the nations. It was after the destruction of the first Beis HaMikdash. And that situation of Golus continued even after the Nes. Kenemar Gemara, that the Gemara says, "Akati avdei Achashverosh anan." We're still servants of Achashverosh even after the Nes. Well, b'chol zot, even though it was a time of Golus, gam az lo igi hatzala be'emtzei mativim. Even then, the salvation didn't come about through natural methods. Eila al yadei sheyavo el hakodesh baruch hu sumu alai shloishes yamim. It came about through tshuva and through fasting, and that was what was required back then. And it's the same as what's required now, maybe not fasting, but strengthening our connection with the Kodesh Baruch Hu through Torah and mitzvahs. That's the car, and that Hashem has the power to pierce through all the darkness. He creates the darkness. He's the one who set up the darkness. And now we're going to answer the initial questions and finish the Sikha. And this is the reason why the holiday is called Purim. in Persian. And also, this is the reason that the holiday alludes to the Gezerah, to the Gezerah, which was a bad thing. And this is also why the Hashem's name isn't mentioned in the Megillah. Because this is the Chiddush of Purim. This is the novelty, the novel idea that Purim comes to teach us, and the idea of Megillas Esther, revealing the hiddenness. The fact that the Jewish people are not confined to the laws of nature. This is not just in matters that have to do with heavenly matters, spiritual matters, like having success in understanding Torah according to the truth, where there's definitely need for divine help, which is given when a person approaches Torah with humbleness and fearing God. It doesn't, but and not just laws of nature that have to do even with physical matters, like business matters that are between Jews. Asher b'neihem hari lo shinu es l'shoinam. Because by the Jews all speak the same language. But not only are the Jewish people not connected, not limited to the laws of nature in spiritual matters and in matters that are relating to Jew and a Jew, also in matters that are related between Jews and non-Jews, lavdil. When a Jew is required to speak Persian, and it's known, it's a halach that Esav hates Yaakov, that the goy that he's dealing with may harbor a hatred for him, and therefore it's very possible and the goy will look for all kinds of methods and all kinds of tricks to try to harm the Jew, either monetarily or physically. He pil poor, that's his way. He pil poor. He uses his methods within the darkei teva, within the laws of nature to try to harm the Jew. The af b'yois b'matzav shel chashash, even though it may be only a possibility. Shibim koim lahaskir shem shamayim yaskir hagoy lahavdil shem avodah zara, and the goy might in his business dealings even bring up, instead of bringing up HaKadosh Baruch Hu, might bring up the name of his avodah zara, and therefore it's possible to think, since the goy is under the restraints of the laws of nature, and we're dealing with this goy within the laws of nature, we might think that in a situation like that, the hashpa'ah Yehudi krucha lahashpa'ah ala goy, that the flow of benevolence, of blessing to the Jew, is dependent on the flow of benevolence to the goy. Since they're doing business together, right? And the Jew is going to be getting money from this business deal through the goy. It's might possible to think that the Jew is dependent upon the laws of nature that the goy is dependent upon. L'chein gama Yehudi. Therefore, one might think that the Jew is dependent upon the laws of nature that the goy is dependent upon. Al kach nilmedes ha'hayram Purim u'mimgilas Esther. Therefore, we learn the lesson from the name Purim, which is a Persian name, and the name of the Megillah, which is called Megillas Esther, the revelation of the hiddenness. Shagam kasher Yehudi oisek bepurim. Even when the Jew is oisek bepurim b'lashon Parsis, even when the Jew has to deal with matters that are foreign, ubehester, milashon hester, and he has to deal with matters that are not spiritual matters, have to do with Torah and mitzvahs, hidden matters. He's dealing in the world, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he doesn't see HaKadosh Baruch Hu revealed in the world. Alav ladat, he has to know, nevertheless, shagam, bekach, also in this, when he's dealing with with these matters of the laws of nature, even with a Gentile, even in Persian. Yesh l'mala me'ateva. There also is above teva. There's also the aspect above nature, which he is connected to. Hapur hu hagoira, like the Megillah says. Hapur, the type of dice rolling that Haman did. Hu hagoira, it also has a Hebrew term, which is l'mayla mishtalshalush, which is above the laws of nature. Ubehester astir, and in the actual double wording of, on that day I will certainly hide myself. Hastir astir, I will doubly hide myself. A darkness that's doubled in quite a double darkness. Yeshgam anoich. The pasuk says anoichi astir astir. Anoichi is a name. Hanayla mikol hashemis. Anoichi is a name that's above all other names. Vafilu mishem havaya. Anoichi is a name that's even above the Shem Yud Kei Vav Kei. And therefore, it's Anoichi, it's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Chvaydu V'atzmai, who's creating this Hester, who's creating this concealment, and who wants us, who are living in the concealment, and seeing the concealment, to recognize that even though we're living in the concealment, and it appears to be a concealment, our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu is beyond the concealment, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the Balabayas. He's the one in charge. And if he wants to illuminate the concealment and bring bracha, he has the power to do so. We just have to strengthen our connection to him. And whatever efforts we make according to the laws of nature, that's just the lavush, that's just a garment that gives the blessing, something to grasp onto. Yud. Now we're going to go back to what we first said, that the Baal Shem Tov said that someone who reads the Megillah out of order, and he thinks that the Nes of Purim only applies back then but doesn't apply today, didn't fulfill the reading of the Megillah. When a Jew reads the Megillah Esther, Shagam es inyanim shel Esther, also the inyanim that are hidden, the Hester Kaful, Hester Hastir Astir, that are not just hidden, but they're doubly hidden. Ukaira umekabel kimegillah. He's reading and accepting it as a revelation. Milashin Gili, B'yoidai, B'shema, Shagama Pur, Vafa Pur, Shehipil Haman Huagoira. And he knows that in this concealment, there's a revelation. There's a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and it's possible to reveal a Kodesh Baruch Hu, and that's how we said just a moment ago, and that's the whole Sikh was talking about out of it. The Kol Ze'enu L'Mafreya Elakayim Etzloyata, and all of this is not just something that happened in the past, but it's actually something that's taking place today, just like the Nes of Purim wasn't just back then, but it's also today. Hariaz, then we're finishing up, Rabbi, we will done in 1 minute. Hariaz hu megila gili hamuchla. There, then he will reach the ultimate revelation. Megillah, hagarim l'simcha gedola b'yoser, which causes the greatest simcha of all. Ad ha'ofen ad shelo yada, even in a manner that's beyond yeda, beyond rationale. Simcha bilti mugbelas, a simcha that's beyond any limitations. And through this we will then connect the geula of Purim to the geula of Pesach. Shemigula Purim megim legula shel Pesach. Shemigula the Purim megim legula asida. We'll get from the revelation of Purim, the miracle of Purim. We'll get to the miracle, the future miracle, which is similar to the geula shel Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is similar to the geula of going out of Mitzrayim, going out of the land of Egypt. Sha'az ye'layla kayom ya'ir, then it will be day and night will both shine. Shagama choshech shalayla, that also the darkness of night, which right now doesn't shine, it appears to be darkness, it too will shine. Kefisha b'Megillas Esther, Gama Hester hofech legilu, just like in the Megillas Esther, the hiddenness And the Gezerah was turned into a Gilui and a Simcha. It was turned into a revelation of Hashem's kindness and love to the Jewish people, and a great Simcha that we celebrate next week. B'bias Mashiach Tzidkenu, Yavo v'yigalenu b'karav mamish. With the coming of Mashiach, may he come and redeem us immediately. So next week we'll start the Maamar.